Welcome to the Michigan Golfer Show. Join us each week as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great game.
Hello, I am Jack Berry, and I'm here at Eastern Michigan University's Eagle Crest Resort, overlooking the beautiful lake out there behind our guest today, Tom Durant. Tom Durant, the cameraman. Tom has been involved in shooting golf and travel and all the other good things that we enjoy when we look at television and are at the movies and all. And Tom, tell us how you got into photography and then into taking moving pictures.
Probably right around the 1980s when I came from a construction background. I was a home builder and I did commercials. As a matter of fact, I built probably 70 or 80 stores at Briarwood, and then I went on to Lakeside and 12 Oaks. Mall man, and it was great work because it was in the wintertime, but then all of a sudden that work evaporated during the 1980s, and there were 20 contractors bidding on one job, and it was the guy who had the lowest price and forgot something that got the bid. So I decided I needed another occupation. And so that's when subcontractors for construction started to hire me to do these videos, because I used to use them in my house construction to show people some of these exclusive houses that I built. And it went on, and it kept growing and growing until finally the video was more than the construction. And
you ran out of houses.
Yeah, right. Well, the market started to come back, but I really enjoyed the photography end of it. I just, it's actually video, but I always enjoyed doing it. I was the member of the family, our family, who
took all the pictures.
Yeah, well, I took all the pictures and all the movies. My mom had a movie camera, so that probably was the very, very beginning, and really did have a love for it, and was fortunate to take baby steps and grew the company into what it was.
And you are in Ypsilanti, is this it?
Well, the company is in Ann Arbor. I was born in Ann Arbor, but I live in Ypsilanti and raised in Ypsilanti in the Ann Arbor area all my life. Haven't gone far from where it all started.
Well, it's a pretty nice looking spot out here behind us.
And I remember very much so the construction of this golf course, because Eastern Michigan hired me to follow the construction of this course when it was being built. And I can remember having to schlep equipment all the way down to the lake as bulldozers and big monstrous machines were clearing the way, because you couldn't really even walk to the lake from up here. So.
Well, it always looks so nice with it's all the green grass and all, but there's a lot of mud under there, right?
Well, there is, but it's been a jewel for this area. It really has. I was on Eastern's golf league out here, and I miss it to this day. We used to come out every Friday and had the Alumni Association's golf league out here. And it was always fun to golf.
And you were scratch, right?
Scratch my back? Is that what it was? Yeah, no, definitely not. No, there are several golfers that will tell you I struggled with the game until finally my back said no more golf, and so and I miss it to this day.
That's understandable. Well, your golf days may have been over, but you're still involved somewhat in Eastern Michigan sports. Is that right? And in football?
Yeah, I was. I think probably about 5 years I did Eastern's football and basketball coaches shows. And that was a pretty heavy schedule, because football, of course, is once a week. We did a coaches show, and that was John Fountain, who was the host of that show. And then once football season was over, basketball started up, and that was even more intense, because they played 2 games a week, one on Wednesday and one on Saturday. So fortunately, I had a friend who had a plane. because we would load the equipment up on Saturday because we had to have footage of the game, and not many schools had their own TV program to where I could get footage for these. So it meant that I had to go. And so we would fly down, we would radio for a taxi cab, they would meet us at the airport, take us to the game, we'd shoot the game, call for a cab, take us back to the plane, and by 6 o'clock I was back eating dinner at home.
The good thing you weren't in the Southeast Conference then.
Yeah, the longest one I think we had was Ohio University. But that was such a beautiful trip. I love to fly, and especially in small planes. But we did those coaches shows, I think at least 4 or 5 years. Football with Jim Harkema, who was the head coach. It was really an exciting time because Eastern won the Rose Bowl, if you will, of the MAC Conference, which was the California Bowl, that was big time, and it was national news at the time, and of course they had to get their video from me, so that was always nice too.
You didn't go out there in a small plane, though, did you? No. You went in the big one?
Unfortunately, I had to watch it on TV, and then, of course, the same thing happened with basketball. I'm trying to think who the coach was at the time.
Ben Braun?
Yeah, Ben Braun. Thank you. Ben Braun was the coach, and he brought Eastern to the Sweet 16, and that was huge. You talk about a sweetheart team in the basketball March Madness. Eastern was it, and it was really fun because everybody was rooting for us when we played that game. But I think we beat Duke. I could be wrong here, but we lost to one of the other big schools, and not by much. That was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work.
So then what did you have to do in the summertime?
Well, that's where we began developing. Art came to me, and he knew we were doing these shows, and I think that was about the time when we were talking Treetops and the grand opening of that course up there. And so we went up there to film that, and maybe 6 months or a year later, I don't know the exact time frame, but Art came in and he said, yeah, what about doing a golf show? Because he knew that we were doing other things for public television.
Let's go back to going to Treetop and the one with Robert Trent Jones.
I had all of the camera equipment set up with Robert Trent Jones in the room, and for some reason everybody was 45 minutes late, and it was the greatest conversation I ever had in my life, because here I was talking with a legend, and we were like old friends by the time it all was over.
Well, that's terrific. What did you talk about?
Well, of course we talked about his courses, and he was interested in how I, like everybody was, got from construction to television production. But it was just, it was a great opportunity for us to chat about golf and the different courses, and it was kind of neat. He wouldn't give me his favorite course.
Oh, he would never do that. It's the next one.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
exactly right.
That's his line, and about every architect has used it since.
Yeah. He never would let on, but it was always the next course that I built, and so it was really a fun time up there.
I think I'll ask Mr. Melling what really made you feel that Mr. Jones was the person that you wanted up here at Sylvan Resort.
I think the key factor is he leaves the land basically the way it is, and the beauty up here, I could see it, but not as good as he could see it. I mean, I could go through the woods and see hills, but I couldn't see the hills and the valleys and I have seen a lot of the other architects, and he leaves things natural. And tell you what, when he started moving the trees out of the way, he saw it, and I didn't see it, and we couldn't have made it any better choice.
Well, you were there at the beginning of the treetops, and that's how the course got its name, when he looked out and all he could see was trees.
And that was number 6, was it? Number 6, yeah. Wow, that is a beautiful course. That's such beautiful country up there. I love upper Michigan and in that area.
Well, you've been able to, over the years, show probably millions of people all of the beautiful parts of Michigan.
Yeah.
Now, after the treetop season, what happened? The big time coming ahead?
Oh, I wouldn't call it big time. Big little time, maybe. It was the formation of an idea that that Art brought, and of course we thought, I was doing some other things that were similar in nature, but the golf show really appealed to me, and so we got let's see, Terry and Art, myself, and Tom Cleary brainstormed to put together a show. I think we did maybe 4 or 5 shows that year. Art primarily was the contact for sponsors. I was responsible for getting the network. It was from people. Well, the courses I left up to Art. He knew the courses. I always trusted him. Yeah, always trusted him to come up with something that was visually interesting, and we were never disappointed. Let's put it that way. But we went off with the first show, and we decided to go on broadcast television. And we talked to a station in Detroit that we had hoped to get on, but the airtime cost was kind of out of our price range. It was our entire budget for the whole year, basically, and it was at 5 a.m. in the morning. So we didn't figure any golfers, if they were up, they were playing golf. So we did struggle along for the first year. We did have 2 broadcast stations that did carry it. One was up in Flint, and one I think was in the Grand Rapids. Yeah. And yes, that's right. And so we had coverage there, but unfortunately not so much in Detroit. So the meeting of the minds, of course, after that was over with, and we figured that broadcast wasn't our cup of tea. I had some success with public broadcasting, and Michigan is not unique, but they had 7 PBS stations that covered the entire state of Michigan, and that was very palatable to me. So we say.
And they were looking for product, weren't they?
Well, yes, they were, and this just happened to fit within their parameters. We had very stringent rules that we had to follow. Art would tear his hair out sometimes. Art, you can't do that. You can't say that. This is public broadcasting. And he says, well, why not? We'll just slip it in. I said, do you want the show to air or not? It's just basically that simple, because if it didn't meet their standards, they just wouldn't put it on the air. We never had that problem. But anyway, our first year was pretty successful. I should say our second year. And we went on to expand the network and the reach, and it continued to grow. And I think, if I look correctly, we finally got up to 34 markets with the PBS stations. Those are ones that we knew about. This particular show is called a free offering. It was fed up on the satellite from Detroit Public Television, and anybody on a PBS satellite could download the program and play it. My deal with them is that just let us know that you're airing it so that we can tell our sponsors where it's going. Well, 34 markets did, and they actually sent notification that they were airing it and the times that they were airing it. There were a ton of stations. One in particular that I can remember was Honolulu, Hawaii. I had got a letter from this lady asking for a particular show, if she could have a copy of it. And it was so intriguing, I called her and I said, "How are you seeing this show?" And she said, "Oh, I watch it every week on PBS here in Honolulu." And of course, that was a shock to me, and that opened my eyes up that there were a whole lot of other stations that were doing the same thing. It was a pretty fun time to watch the network grow. We would do golf shows, and I guess the biggest kick I got out of being the producer of the show was not only putting it together. Fortunately, I had good people who were editing the program because I knew nothing about what I owned. And that was the other thing, that the only way that we could afford to do this was because I had my own production company, Video Images. If I'd had to hire a company to shoot it and to edit it, it just couldn't happen because we just didn't have the budget for that. But I really enjoyed meeting the people, sending in suggestions about courses they'd like to see us do, and it was all pretty fun.
Pretty good from
Yeah.
East.